Are we living in a matrix? The simulation argument. Is everything as it seems? Or do we live in a simulated existence? Could all of this just be an illusion? Do we live in an artificial or computer simulation? We are here today to answer the question that has popped into the minds of many. One of the world's leading pioneers alive today and founder of a very famous company actually believes in this theory. Wait till you find out who. Hello, and welcome to Junkie TV, where we teach you all about the world's weirdest and most fascinating things. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more mind-blowing topics. Well, we think that we humans think we have seen everything we could possibly see. The truth is that science tells us otherwise. The human brain can only process so much. For instance, our eyesight is limited in comparison to manta rays. And our listening abilities can't hear certain frequencies like the high pitch that a dog can hear. Our brains can only process a small fragment of the world. However, thanks to science and technological advancement, we now have proper tools to help us translate these unknown possibilities into languages that our brains can comprehend. We have learned more about the universe than we could ever have without technology. But with all this knowledge we have acquired, there comes the question, what if in the future, a far more advanced version of ourselves created ourselves? Sounds insane, right? But let us break it down further for you. If human beings in the year 2020 are able to travel across the world in less than 24 hours, watch virtual reality, and shop online, all of which are activities that were unimaginable 100 years ago, then who's to say that human beings will not also be capable of simulating entire universes in another 100 years or so? Now, we can't find out whether this will in fact happen in the future or not. We don't have time machines. But what we do know is that if human beings are able to simulate entire universes in the future, then there's a huge possibility that the universe we currently live in is, you guessed it, simulated. Another similar theory that also assumes that we are simulated is that the simulation is not created by our species, but by another alien life form. And we might not even know about it because of how convincing our reality is. We can go beyond questioning the reality of our own Earth. What if the stars above us are simulated as well? And the entire Milky Way? And the galaxy? And everything beyond that? According to our current understanding of physics, it's impossible to simulate a universe that large. The universe contains trillions of things, some of which are still unknown to us. But the simulation argument says that we don't need to actually simulate these things. All that is needed is a simulation of the universe as we see it, so that human beings are tricked into believing that there's a lot more out there. Kind of like how in the movie The Truman Show, the untouchable sky was actually a dome that you could tear through. The main character was living through a simulation his entire life without even knowing it. We won't spoil the movie for you if you haven't seen it yet. But if this world and life as we know it is indeed simulated, then the puppeteers would only need to simulate the space and objects that we are technically allowed to explore. While we currently think that the universe is a vast amount of space with lots of untouched territories, it could just be a flat projection, and we would never be able to find out. While science might tell us that we don't have the tools and mechanisms to reach these untouched territories, it might just be the simulation that's limiting us from ever reaching there. What about the small stuff though? The tiny little atoms and bacteria that the world is made up of. You could argue that if we were living in a simulation, that these things would not need to exist. But what if the simulation makes these cells and bacteria exist only when we need to see them? What if the simulation is coded so that these things only appear when you're looking at them? What if your closet is actually empty of clothes until you open it? What if there's nothing underneath the ground you're standing on until you decide to dig up the earth to see what's underneath? What we are trying to say is that in a simulation, a trillion things as large as the universe do not need to be created. All that needs to be created is what our human brains are conscious of at that moment, the things that we see on a surface level. By now, you might experience somewhat of an existential crisis. If you like what you've heard so far, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. It helps the channel grow, and it helps more people see our channel and learn about these bizarre theories. So, back to our main question. Are we being simulated? So far, we've concluded that it's a possibility. If human beings advance enough with technology in the future, then it's possible that we can simulate entire universes. We can't say for sure if we've been simulated, but Swedish-born philosopher Nick Bostrom can help guide us a little in this subject. In 2003, Bostrom wrote a journal article titled "Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?", where he presents the possibility that we might, after all, be living in a computer simulation. In the paper, Bostrom proposes a trilemma that he calls the simulation argument, which argues that one of the following 3 points are true. Number 1, the fraction of human-level civilizations that reach a post-human stage, that is, one capable of running high-fidelity ancestor simulations, is very close to 0. Number 2, the fraction of post-human civilizations that are interested in running simulations of their evolutionary history or variations thereof is very close to 0. Number 3, the fraction of all people with our kind of experiences that are living in a simulation is very close to 1. Nick Bostrom, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? 2003. Bostrom argues that one of these 3 propositions is true, leaning towards the third argument. This simulation would not only refer to life that we know today, but to our past and history as well. Bostrom believes that human beings in the future, or post-human civilization, will have such high computing power to the extent that the total number of simulated ancestors would in fact exceed the total number of actual ancestors today. He argues that if the world advances enough to create simulations, then we are most certainly living in a simulation. Elon Musk, founder and CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, also believes in the theory that we may all be living in a matrix. In September 2018, he said that if the universe is billions of years old, then there has been plenty of time for civilizations to come and go, some of which may have been super technologically advanced. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then games will be indistinguishable from reality, or civilization will end. One of those 2 things will occur, Musk said. Therefore, we are most likely in a simulation because we exist. This brings us to the argument that at one point, all civilizations could reach a point where they destroy themselves. This would bring the simulation argument to a close. Well, if we live in a simulation, then why would it be so boring? Where are all the freaky-looking aliens? And why don't we have superpowers like flying or teleportation? Elon Musk said in the Joe Rogan show that he believes there are many simulations out there. This could be known as the multiverse, a theory that dates back to ancient Greece. The theory says that there is a group of multiple universes that make up for everything we know. More common terminologies of the multiverse are alternate universes or parallel universes. So it could be very well possible that we live in one of the more boring simulations. Even if that means that human beings in this simulation have created far more interesting games. But that could be like comparing The Sims to a more dynamic game. Unless human civilization ends, the possibilities could be endless. Just like how we have evolved over thousands of years, there's a lot more to come. Technology is developing at exponential speeds. Post-humans could be far more advanced versions of our current selves. While today we run simulations of ads and video games, the future could be holding far bigger projects than that. If the post-human beings are capable of simulating an entire universe, then there is definitely a possibility that we are currently living in one. If the future is capable of running simulations, then there can be millions or billions of them, which means trillions of simulated beings, which means that everyone that has existed in the timeline of Earth was all simulated. We can't say for sure whether the theory is true or not, but the chances are pretty high. You might actually be simulated. But remember, take this all with a grain of salt. These theories can't be tested, and many scientists in fact disagree with this theory. Don't do anything too crazy to test the theory. If we do in fact live in a simulation, the best thing to do would be to continue living life as is, because there are still repercussions and consequences that apply in the world we live in today, whether simulated or not. All we can do is try to be good to one another and enjoy life while we can, before this simulation ends. That's all we have for you today, folks. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get notified with our next mind-blowing video. If you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and share this with a friend. This will help us reach more people to learn something new every day. Be sure to let us know in the comments, do you think we live in a simulation? We'd love to hear your thoughts, opinions, and feedback. Thanks for watching Info Junkie TV, and we'll see you in our next video.